Welcome,
Yes.
everyone. I hope you're live.
Yes, we are
To
live.
Life
Yeah.
Indeed, the podcast where we discuss about the life the way it is not. So
Yes.
here again, we are here with you with another episode. Last week we had certain things that we were going on as we informed you in previous episodes that we are going to, kind of do a lot of things in the background just to transform the image of Life Indeed podcast. Of course, we are doing right from the branding to the there is a plan to reach more number of people, and there is a
Right.
plan to get more and more exciting, and of course leaders from all across the world who can add more value to you through Life Indeed podcast. So we've been doing it, but let me talk about little bit about Life Indeed podcast, as I think a lot of audience, I have been surprised to use that a lot of people, who have messaged me and of course to us and on social media that, this is what we have learned from Life Indeed. In fact, I have messaged you last time that, the only way out is
Yes.
in. See, so people are getting the, message of Life Indeed podcast. And the message is simple, that we talk about those life experiences which people generally don't talk in, don't actually hesitate to share, or they don't feel comfortable to share those kind of
Right.
experience, because it is in the moment of those experience which actually helps individuals to grow.
True.
As someone said, that growth comes at the point of resistance, and success comes at the point of friction or gravity. So but most of the human beings, we all of us try to avoid it. If you avoid problem, you're
Yes.
avoiding success. So we had Life Indeed. So if you talk about me and Piyush, we met with each other. I think it's been 3 years. We are talking to each other. We have been connected with each other. But how it started is because we were sharing our own experience on a one-on-one call, and probably in our own fellow human being community. Then we got an idea that why should we not go ahead and talk about publicly, because it will encourage a lot of other people to share their own experience, share their own vulnerabilities, and this way a lot of number of people will learn from each other. So that was the
Yes.
essence of Life Indeed podcast, and we started with one live impromptu episode that we were very very hesitant about. And I think Piyush, if you would love to recall that moment, that
Yeah,
we
yeah,
like
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
how would we what we would
How can
talk,
I,
how would we go about it.
absolutely, how can I
But
forget
we
that
decided,
experience?
let's go ahead and do it impromptu, because
Yeah.
that's the essence of Life Indeed podcast. We do not pre-plan things. We just talk about the real experiences, the raw
True.
experiences, that as it
True.
says that we talk about raw emotions. So that's how we
True.
started. Today we are into 45th episode, and we are here again continuing our series of improving your communication. Where we are going to talk about certain tips and tricks today, and we will focus more on how part, because we have already discussed about why we should improve our
Why part?
communication.
Yes.
What is communication, what are the misconceptions, what are the myths. Today we are going to cover the tips and tricks. So we welcome you, and if you would have any questions in between, please participate, throw your questions. We would love to
Yes.
do it. And if you get an
Absolutely.
opportunity to revisit this episode, do this. So, Piyush, I would like to invite you yet again after a couple of weeks. Tell me, how are
Yes.
you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling much better now. Unfortunately, because of some health issues, last week I was not feeling well. And that's why also, we were not able to do our last week's episode, but now I'm feeling much better and now
Good
back
news.
on the track. So let's do it. I mean, so as you already mentioned that we have covered why part, that why somebody should improve their communication skill. And
Yep,
it's very much surprising that we actually covered why part in two episodes, not just one episode but two episodes,
absolutely.
because it shows that how important it is to understand the why part. Because
Please
until
carry on.
unless you do not understand the importance, you do not if you are not having the right reason that why you should work upon your skills, and especially a communication skill, then you will not be able to do it on a persistent basis,
Yeah,
right? So it's very very important. Now I don't think so that we have
definitely.
to talk much about why part. So let's just talk about how
Yeah.
somebody can improve their communication skill.
Good, good,
So
good.
you
Let's start it. So I think Piyush, even before we understand like communication is something which is an output. So I think
right,
I touched upon this topic a little bit in our previous episode, but I think this is important to discuss that, when we speak, it's a air that we are breathing out.
correct,
So, we will talk about the correlation between air and speaking in, probably in further down the line in this episode. However, let's understand like what are the input to communication. So, in previous episode, we discussed about these three aspects of input, which actually yield a output, which is speaking effectively and flawlessly. So these three
right,
inputs are: number one, you have to be a good observer and a good listener, because
absolutely,
before you are able to communicate well, you should be able to listen and observe well. So there is a reason why
right,
God has given two ears and one mouth, and that is to listen more effectively. Because when you're listening, you are probably there is an opportunity that you are learning something new. But when you're
mm,
speaking, you're just talking your own experience. There are
correct.
other two things like reading, writing, and thinking. So Piyush, would you like to show some light onto that?
So I think people need to understand that there is a difference between speaking and a communication skill.
Absolutely.
A lot of people get confused between speaking and communication skill.
True.
And the major difference is speaking or talking happens at a very, unconscious level where you don't even think before speaking a word. You don't even take that pause before saying a sentence or sharing your thought. And when we say a skill required a lot of practice. So
Absolutely.
the very fundamental difference people need to understand is, talking and communication skill both are very much different. So when you are talking with your friends, that is actually not a communication skill. I will say that that is also a part of communication skill, but
Communication skill, but that's very
you have to
unconscious.
raise your that you have to raise your conscious level, that whatever you are saying, whatever you are speaking with an intent, you are speaking with a purpose, because
Correct.
every single word coming out of from your mouth has some potential to impact something.
Hmm.
Now that impact can be good, bad, or neutral, or like, but that should be some impact. So I think this is people need to understand, and that's
Absolutely.
why you have to work upon your purpose, your why, that why you want to develop a communication skill, because it is definitely going to impact your life on a various platforms. So I think this
Definitely. And
needs
I
to be
think,
understood. Yeah,
why that's what we have been, talking about, that it is your why which actually takes you towards something.
true.
Till the time you don't have clearly defined reasons for doing anything, you will not have motivations. So you get
True.
motivation from the reasons. So I think,
Absolutely.
in continuation to what we were talking about, and as you rightly said, that do not mistake communication with speaking, because speaking is something where you speak in any setup, but communication can be unconscious as well. Even if you're not speaking,
Yes.
you're communicating, because your
Yes.
body speaks when you don't speak. So
Yes.
it's very important to understand the subtle difference between communication and speaking. So I was talking about the communication part, like how you can improve your speaking. So even before you can improve your speaking, you need to improve the input parts, which is listening
Yes.
ability,
Listening,
and then the
observing.
way you're thinking. Number second was the
Yes.
thinking ability. A lot of us, I think me and Piyush, have been very, very vocal about this fact that a lot of us do not get time in our life to even
That's
introspect,
that's an
take a
excuse
pause and
actually.
introspect. Yeah. Piyush, I
That's
would
an
like you to talk
excuse.
about it. I think you explain it very beautifully on this.
That's an excuse actually, that people, when
Yeah.
people say that I don't have time to think, or I don't have time to do this and that, that's an excuse, frankly speaking. And that's where the self awareness and conscious part comes in the picture. So
Yeah.
that why. So if you are facing some problems in your life, you need to observe, you need to see from third perspective, you need to think that why something is happening. But as human beings, we always take an easier choice, like blaming the
Mm,
circumstances, or complaining. and
correct.
and because that complaining, blaming gives it helps us to justify that if something is happening in my life which is not as per my expectation, it is happening because of this person or that person, or because of this circumstances. And if nothing is there, then it is happening because of God. That is something, that is
People
something we
don't
humans
even spare gods.
spare gods. Absolutely, absolutely. So you need to become an observer first of all. You are very much rightly said that observing things, thinking, taking a pause is something very, very, very essential, because eventually if you want to develop your communication skill, you have to learn this skill to taking a pause when you are saying a word or a sentence, before that sentence coming out of your mouth, that fraction of second of pause. And it comes with the practice, the pain,
Pause
that how
management is a practice. Yeah.
how much time it takes to take it in your at a subconscious level, where you
Yeah.
I always give this example of the if in fact I have described this to you as well, that most of the people have seen the Spider-Man movie, where
Yeah. Yeah.
Spider-Man is having this superpower which is called spider sense.
Hmm.
So before anything happens, before anything bad happens, just before that, like in a fraction of second, Spider-Man have this sense, that ability that he can see that something is coming. Now
Yeah.
you also need to develop that spider sense, that whatever word coming out of your mouth should be coming with an intent. You should be knowing that what you are speaking, what words are you going to say, or what kind of words are you going to share with the world, because ultimately it has an impact.
And I think this only comes via practice because, look at us
Absolutely.
like, I remember the time when I would think about something meaningful that I would speak. But now,
Yes.
when you speak regularly, you don't even have to think about it. It comes
Yes.
automatically, and people will
Yeah.
say, he's speaking good. So I think it's a very, very good fact, like thinking, taking a pause, thinking about something, planning, and then while you speak, pause management is very, very important. So we'll talk about
Absolutely.
it.
So
And
I
the
think
last aspect that, yeah, no,
just want to interject a small thing, that I think having a me time is very, very, very important. You know,
yeah,
it can be in the morning, a 1 hour where you are just alone. There is nobody.
yeah,
It can be in the morning or in the evening or whenever you are. You just have to decide that whether you want to spend that 1 hour on some entertainment, or you want to actually take a pause and having that me time and practicing a lot of things which is going to impact your life. Yeah.
definitely. So the third aspect that we're going to touch upon to improve your speaking ability is reading and writing. So I think
Yes.
we would love to talk about it. So when it comes to reading, of course, as a research says that a human mind gets like 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts every now and then, but
Every
but
day.
but 95%, 90 to 95% of those thoughts are repeated ones. And it
Yes.
is also said that human mind remains in future or either in the past. It cannot remain in present for more than 3 seconds. Understand
True.
where our mind is going towards. If we cannot
Absolutely.
remain in present for more than 3 seconds, how can we think even about ourselves or even about our ability? So,
Absolutely.
so I think if you read, you will develop new perspectives. That is the reason
Yes.
people say that, hang out with winners, because they will talk about something, they will have purpose in their life, they will influence you or impact your life. Similarly, when you read books, when you listen to podcasts, when you listen to good people, you will get ideas, you will get new perspectives, and you will sometimes surprise yourself saying, oh my God, I didn't even know this earlier. So this has
Yes.
happened. Aha moment has happened with both of us
Absolutely.
many of the time.
Absolutely.
So I think reading
Now,
is very important.
and reading, learning, and having conversation with like-minded people can help you to develop a different perspective altogether. So people
Definitely.
also need to understand the importance of perspective. Why you need perspective. So just today morning only I was having this thought, where I was talking to myself, and I told myself that I am proud of my failures. And I was
Hmm.
really surprised, literally, that how did that thought came out of my mind.
Hmm.
Most, I think most of the people, 99% of people always says that I'm proud of my success.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
never say that I'm
Say
proud
that
of
I'm
my
proud.
failures.
Absolutely.
But actually, because of my failures only, I become who I am today. Okay,
And remember, it's a case with everyone. But who
yeah,
all
it's a
says
case
this?
of, but who so all says that? I mean, who acknowledge that I'm proud of my failures? So this is the perspective which I was able to develop with the help of this many years of reading, like having conversation with like-minded people, learning, working upon my skills. Otherwise, how somebody can develop this kind of perspective that I'm proud of my
That's the
failures?
beauty, because ultimately, when you do so much of things in your life, when you declutter your mind, develop new perspective, then you will always have an alternate way of looking at one problem
Yes,
or one
yes,
perspective. Because
absolutely.
whether you see some problem as a problem, or you see this as an opportunity, it's
Yes,
your approach which actually matters, and you can only
yes,
develop this approach when you have that 5,000 feet view onto something, and you know that okay, today this is a problem, it might turn into an opportunity tomorrow.
yes, yes, absolutely.
So I think we have covered these three important inputs, like thinking, reading, writing, and of course, listening and observing. Writing again, we both are advocate. In fact, day before yesterday, I was having something happened, something personal happened, and I realized that it is going to make my day worst. And it happened for like I would say like for half an hour. I felt I'm completely stuck, and it was enough to spoil my day. But you know what I did?
Hmm.
I simply took a pen and paper. I just jot down all the feelings that I was having. And God, honest truth, I have written everything how I was feeling. And at the end of the day, I wrote that maybe next day when I will read this, I will laugh at myself. And
Absolutely.
immediately after 1 hour, I felt so good. I didn't even think about it. And next day, I'm again charged up. So how do situation? Everybody will go into shit.
So it's a very
Everybody
beautiful
goes through
point.
shits.
It's a very
Yeah,
beautiful point, Tausif. So when we are
yeah,
talking and discussing about communication skills, now communication is just not about giving a speech from the stage, or it is not something which happens once in a month or once in a
yeah.
year or something like that. It is actually happens on a daily basis. Now, if
True.
somebody really wants to become a good speaker or a good communicator, then you also need to work upon your emotional management, which you described
Absolutely.
beautifully. Otherwise,
Yeah.
what will happen? Your emotion will keep on hampering you, will keep on damaging you, and even if you have a lot of substance within you, if you are reading a lot of books, you are putting a lot of things in your mind, but if you are not emotionally strong, if you are
Emotionally
not able to
stronger.
manage your emotions, then again that problem will
It's all in vain,
arise.
because ultimately, speaking, as you rightly said, Piyush, speaking is all about how emotionally you are able to connect with people. At times when
Absolutely.
you're speaking in front of people, somebody challenged you. Does that change your stance? Does that change your emotions? Does that change your tonality? So I think it's very, very important to have that warrior mindset, that you're ready to face the challenges, accept that
See,
there will be challenges,
see,
but
the
at the same
biggest,
time know how to overcome them.
absolutely. I mean, the biggest example which I have come across, or which I have seen, is Mahatma Gandhiji, right? So we
Yeah,
all have seen him as a world leader. And I think and I strongly believe that his teachings are going to be remain for like centuries. And I don't think that there will be a time when nobody will remember him. He is like somebody, a legend, I can
powerful
say.
spirit. Spirit.
So,
It's all about
so
spirit.
about his personal life, we were able to know quite later on that he has a lot of parental issues. He was having a lot of relationship issues with his own son. So this, the power of communication, when you are able to manage your emotion as a leader, you are able to communicate the message which you want to communicate with the world, even though you are facing like hell lot of problems in your personal life,
Absolutely.
in your professional life. So even, you and I must have also experienced a lot of time that behind our back we are facing a lot of issues, in like, it can be family issues, it can be like relationship issues, but when it comes to delivering, or when it comes to communicating the words which are going to impact people, which are going to impact circumstances,
Absolutely.
we get switch on, you
I
know
think that is the important thing, because having that relentless spirit, like no matter what happens, whatever you're destined to, whatever you have planned, you have to deliver. And I mean, and we have had classic examples of such types. Take an example of Bollywood. The choreographer or the dance teacher Saroj Khan. I think her son died, and on the same day,
and
I think
she
in the
was,
evening, she went on to
yes,
teach the
yes,
classic. So I
yes.
mean, we have such kind of examples, thousands of such examples, but are we really imbibing them? Are we able to,
I think
adopt
that
them as
that
an
is
identity?
this is also a very major problem, that we
Yeah,
just keep on working on a skill at a very, shallow level.
yeah,
That, a lot of people can teach you how to communicate, the verbal communication, written communication, this and that. But if you are not working from within, if you are not, working upon your emotions, if you are not working upon your mindset, ultimately those skills are not going to come out.
absolutely, and that's
So
very very true. So I think we have covered like these very very important deep aspects. In fact, given our personal example, Piyush gave his, I gave mine. And I think it's very important, as Piyush said, that emotional managing your emotions in different situations have a very very huge impact on your communication. So we have a
absolutely.
question, Piyush, from our you know esteemed audience, Bushra, that if we want to speak fluently in English, we should think in English. Is it right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this we have already talked, but I would love to share it once again, that you have not only you have to think, but you have to eat English, you have to drink
Drink English.
English, you have to sleep English. Because ultimately you have to develop this habit that you also start thinking in English.
Yes,
Why do we don't have to think before speaking in our mother tongue? Because we also think in the same language.
true,
But unfortunately English is not our native language, and we learn that language. And that's the problem with every new language which you learn, that you have to develop that kind of mindset where you also start thinking in the same language. Otherwise you have to do that translation at a
true.
subconscious level, and it will take some time, and then it can affect your confidence level as well.
Definitely does. So it's
Yeah,
very
so
important to think in
absolutely.
English.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bushra, for asking such a beautiful question.
So Piyush, let's move on to talk about some of the tips, the house part, like how can somebody improve their speaking communication, be it any language. So let's move on to that aspect, because in this episode we would love to talk about this, and if we will realize that yes, we need to talk a bit on something on this topic anymore, probably we'll have another
Hmm.
episode.
Yep.
So how can somebody improve their speaking abilities? Of course, we have done a lot of things in the background for ourselves, so we would love to share experience.
I think the fundamental thing people have to understand is you can just keep on learning, things, techniques, hacks, this and that. But the most important part is you have to put yourself in the situation. And what do I mean when I'm saying that you have to put yourself in a situation? So let's take an example of learning a skill of swimming.
Yeah,
You just cannot learn the skill of swimming by reading a book or by watching a video. You have to get into the water. You have to drink some water while learning that swimming skill. You will feel that I am about to die, or you will get scared, you will have a lot of doubts. But until unless you do not push yourself into the water and spend some hours into that water, you will not be able to learn swimming skill. So likewise, I think with communication skill also, there is no right time when you can start. I will say that wherever you get a chance, and I will even say that don't wait for the chance. You create your own stage.
Yeah.
Even when you are talking with your parents or with your friends, you can become a good communicator. You have to take every single opportunity where you can observe yourself, that how am I improving my communication skill. And every public platform, wherever you get a chance to talk about your skills, your experience, your knowledge, don't let yourself away. People, a lot of people just keep on learning skills, and that I always says that the biggest lie which we tell ourselves is, I'm waiting for the right time, that some
There is
big
no right
function,
time.
when some big function will happen, I will give a speech and I
Mm,
will amaze everybody with my
mm.
communication skill, but it will never happen. So I think the very
Yeah,
fundamental advice from my side would be, you have to get into the skill, you have to get into the situation as soon as
and I
possible.
think that's very very significant, advice, because unless you're not ready in your mind, you cannot adopt that skill, you cannot learn that skill. And I think just as
Absolutely.
you gave a very classic example of how can somebody learn swimming, they cannot learn swimming just by reading. Similarly, like
Correct.
driving a car, learning in our childhood, imagine how did we learn how to ride a bicycle. So
Yeah.
we did it. I think we learn
Absolutely.
all of the skills by doing
Yeah.
it, by
Yeah.
throwing yourself into situations. So I
Correct.
think, talk about both of us, like we have been throwing ourselves into different situations, videos, podcast,
I
interviews. So
just
I think, yeah,
remember that the first episode of Life Indeed itself,
yeah,
it was also quite challenging.
it was very challenging. Like,
Yeah.
so I think anything that you do for the first time, you will feel a lot of friction. I think you
Yep.
have to go through, in fact, grow through that friction.
Grow through. You
And
have to grow
in
through. Yeah.
fact, the when you go on the other side, you always have that feeling. And I think we have done it many number of times. We keep
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
experimenting things, we keep on doing things. So I think that's, and in fact, my mentor always says, Ron always says that, at least once in a month, you do something that you have never done before.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what is it that
Absolutely.
you're doing that you never done before? Maybe you can challenge yourself by making one video. Challenge
Yeah.
yourself. There are a lot of
Yeah.
people who are very camera conscious. When they stand in front of camera, they can't even speak. So it's just like, consider a camera as one of your friend and start saying something, start recording it, and then the biggest opportunity that you have is that you can self evaluate yourself. Maybe in the past we didn't
And
have cameras, we used to do it in front of
yeah.
mirror, and we didn't have any self evaluation opportunity unless there was any mentor.
So
So
you must have also experienced it. Let's say you are in office and your HR announces that we are going to arrange one function where we will be choosing one or two people to give a speech. Then
yeah,
you should become that person that who will raise your hand
yeah,
first. I
I think it's
know
very
people
important.
will laugh, may people mock you. Yeah,
And in fact, it's just a mindset. Like, are you ready to be laughed at? Are you ready to be mocked? And I think if you do, maybe in the future, you will you will have a different image altogether. It's easier said than doing, but I think it's a very important mindset to have, that
yeah,
volunteering yourself in such situations, because it eases out the pressure. When you put
yeah,
yourself into pressure, it will ease out a lot of pressure within you, and you will become future ready, and you will be encouraged. Because of course, it doesn't really matter how many number of people are saying that you did not do well, or they laughed at you, but there will be definitely x amount of people who would come back and
yeah,
encourage you. They will
absolutely,
encourage you to do well.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is also one of the objectives of Life Indeed podcast, that if somebody is, if you have a story, if you really want to put yourself into this situation, or if you really want to come out from your fear, we always welcome people, that either you are coming from any background or any experience or any knowledge, we welcome everyone. That Life Indeed is a platform where we want to give you that opportunity, we want to give you that platform because
Yeah.
once you will experience it, and this we have observed, we have experienced with a lot of guests that they have never done any podcast in their life, but once
Yes.
they came and share, and they take out all those things which were there in their head, they felt like never
Very
before.
relieved. Yeah, they
Yep.
felt very relieved. And I think it's very, very important because, it doesn't really matter what you have done or what you have not done, but anything that you're doing for the first time, just be ready for it, because without having any self judgment, because, at times we always talk about our mind is negatively biased. When we do something for
Correct.
the first time, we always have self doubts, little bit of self doubts. But
Correct.
the amount of faith that you should have, it should overpower the self doubt that you have. So, and that's how you'll be able to grow through, you move forward. So I think having faith in self, it's very, very important, because ultimately, if you don't believe in yourself, maybe one time, two time, three time, or many number of time, you will always retreat. But ultimately, nobody is going to come and push you. It is you
True.
who have to push yourself,
True.
right?
True.
So Piyush, we would like to discuss about some of the aspects of, how can somebody improve their verbal communication. So there
Right.
are, of course, there are aspects like, as per one study, which is Albert Mehrabian. So he has
Mm-hmm.
actually divided the communication part into three things. So first thing is body language, second is vocal variety, and third is content. So, our audience will be surprised to know that the content which we actually speak is only 7%.
Only 7%.
Only the spoken part is 7%, and 93% is vocal variety and body language, which is an unconscious and unspoken communication. Just imagine that level of, you know, emphasis that that person has given on, you know, body language and vocal variety. So we would love
See,
to talk about it. You know,
yeah, so this is where also a lot of people get confused that I only have to work
spoken
upon
part.
my verbal communication.
Yeah,
The kind of words I choose, the kind of sentences I create, the kind of knowledge I'm sharing, which is, it has its own importance, but it's not the only thing by which you can develop your communication skill. You have to work upon your body language. You have to create that posture. But it requires practice, which we already discussed, that everything requires practice. And when, especially when we want to develop a skill,
undoubtedly.
when a skill comes into the picture, it is directly proportional to the amount of practice you do. You take any skill, like it can be riding a bike or driving a car or swimming, or
Yeah,
any skill, it requires a lot of practice. And that's why you need to develop that mindset that whatever
definitely.
you want to improve, you have to keep on practicing. And it's a lifelong process. We both are like a continuous learner,
It's
lifelong
a
learner.
journey.
We have developed that attitude that we will keep on
Yeah,
learning something on a daily basis, whether it is whether it is helping
absolutely.
us today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we don't know. But you have to keep on working,
Yeah,
you have to keep on improving. There is not going to be a day when you can say that I have improvised my communication skill 100%. It is never going to come.
absolutely
So I
agree with
think
you, Piyush, because,
this is something very important.
ultimately, yeah, some of us think that, this is the target. So for improving communication, you can't have a specific target. Maybe yes, you can have a goal, but there will always be people who will speak better than you, and there will always be people who will be speaking, less better than you. So, you
But
you you should not chase perfection.
who will decide that somebody is speaking better than me, or
Yeah,
I am
nobody
not?
can decide. So I think it
Nobody
is.
can decide. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the reason it is important to believe in the process and journey and improve, keep on improving every day. There will be a time when people will start acknowledging it. And you will also
Yes.
surprise yourself. Maybe you watch your video, record your video today, and just go on the journey of improving your communication. And maybe after a year or two, you will surprise yourself by looking at your baseline video. and you will say
Absolutely.
how funny I was.
But
So I think
unfortunately,
it's a very very same.
yeah, unfortunately, what has happened is, because of this internet and very easy information era, a lot of quotes which are actually very much powerful have become very cliche, have become very, generic.
Very
One of the quotes are like, the
generic.
best project you can work upon is yourself,
Is yourself,
right?
yeah.
And your fight should be with yourself only. Like, you need to
But
become a better
people
version of
actually don't
yourself.
understand the value of it. No implementation.
Actually, they're like, when you are reading such quotes on somebody's status, you feel wow. I mean, you have that feeling that, okay, I also need to do the same. But are you actually working upon yourself? Are you actually
Working on
fighting
it.
with your older version? Are you actually become a better version
Practicing
of
what you're
yourself?
preaching.
Are you reviewing that how I
Yeah.
was yesterday and how I am today? Are you actually doing it?
I think, yeah. So I think it's all a part of journey, like deciding something for yourself and then making a commitment and then doing reflection. And then again, whatever areas of opportunities you find within yourself, let's work on that. Let's seek feedback from other people. So I think those are all the things, which are very important in order for you to improve anything in your
True,
life. It doesn't only
true.
is only applicable for communication. It is
Yeah.
applicable for all the aspects of life.
So
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 let's talk about a
let's
little bit about body language, Piyush. I think in the remaining
just
time
I'll
that we
just
have,
give
15
you
20 minutes.
just want to share
Sure.
a small example where people will be able to
Hmm.
actually relate what we are discussing. So currently
Okay.
COVID is going on, right? Now COVID is all
Yeah.
about developing immunity in your body, right?
True.
Now, how you can develop your immunity? There are two possibilities. You eat good food, you do exercises, but it takes time. It's a longer process, but it is
Hmm.
sustainable process. It can like help you for your lifetime. Now,
True.
second process is taking a vaccine. Now, vaccine is actually helping you to boost your immunity. Now, both the
Yeah.
things have its own pros and cons. But in the first option, where you are developing your immunity naturally, it has a very good impact. Now, same thing with communication skill as well, where you can learn some hacks, tricks, and some techniques by which you will
Yeah.
be able. Definitely, you will be able to improve your communication skill. But on a longer time, you have to develop that immunity from within.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
What a beautiful example.
every time you have to keep on learning new hacks, new tricks to show off your communication skill. So currently we have reached to a stage where every most of the things are happening subconsciously. We are not putting
True.
efforts to do a lot of things. So it's about
Absolutely.
developing that immunity power from within. You have to eat a lot of healthy food. Likewise, you have to keep on working on a daily basis. You have to do exercise on a daily basis. Likewise, you have to practice your communication skills on a daily basis. Ultimately, you will reach to that level where that immunity, that communication power will come from within. You don't have to put efforts ultimately.
Absolutely. Wonderful example, Piyush. And I think that's the reason we should believe into constant pursuit of progress, not perfection. And
Yes,
it is the progress, it is the ability to, think. If something is not going wrong, take a pause, reflect, and then again move on and be
yes,
persistent. And that's how you
yes,
will you will see yourself growing. You will surprise yourself. And I
true.
think it's a very important aspect that you talked about. Let's move on to discuss about those three things that we actually highlighted, that came in a study by Albert Mehrabian. So the
Hmm.
first part is body language. So it's very very
Yes.
important that we see ourselves, we observe what we do when we don't speak.
Hmm.
Like there is a classic example of fidgeting. Like fidgeting is like when you are speaking, you're doing so many things that you're distracting people. Maybe you're speaking
Hmm.
and you're itching, you're picking your nose, or you're doing something, or maybe you're clasping your hands, or maybe doing a lot of other things. But so you have to observe yourself, what you're doing when you're not speaking, and what you're doing when
Hmm.
you're speaking at an unconscious level. So body
True.
language, as a saying goes by, that your body speaks even before you speak. And it has
Absolutely.
also been studied that when you meet somebody, when you go into a meeting, when you go on a stage, people perceive you in just first 2 3 seconds. And in fact, I was reading a book. In fact, they claim that you are perceived within 350 millisecond,
Yes, it is actually true. And
right?
we both must have done with a lot of people
Yeah.
the same thing, that we have judged somebody
So
by
you
just
you're talking about
observing.
that spider sense. It is that spider
Yeah,
sense. Like you're
it
able
is
to
that spider
sense
sense.
that what is going to
Yes,
come out of that individual. So
absolutely.
so I think you know. So imagine the level of people, their ability, their spider sense to be able to judge you within those 350 millisecond. So why would you not work on your unconscious body language? Why would you not? It's
Absolutely.
very important to present ourselves in that fashion. सो इवन
See,
बिफोर यू
you,
स्पीक, मुंह खुलने से पहले भी मतलब आप कैसे दिखते हो बहुत मैटर करता है, और आप कैसे बिहेव करते हो वो बहुत
of
मैटर करता है.
course, we all have, we all must have experienced this. If you are like, let's take an example that you are roaming in a mall, in a shopping
Hmm.
complex, and you observe some people. Now you have never met that person in your life, you have never seen that person, but you have that feeling that I don't want to talk with this person.
Hmm.
Now you are not going to talk with this person, but still you have that feeling.
Yeah.
And then at the reverse side as well, you see a lot of people and you get attracted. You feel like I really want to talk with this person.
True.
So why it happens? Because of this thing only, that you are actually carrying that energy, that you are carrying that persona. Now, a lot of people don't believe in all these things, that it is just a bookish knowledge, or it is just something related to spirituality and all those things. But you actually carry that energy with you in your body
Correct.
language, in your body itself. It
True.
shows in your body language, it shows in your overall posture, how you are standing, how you are talking to someone, everything, like,
I mean,
and
our body,
everything has its
as
importance.
Sadhguru also says that we are all universe is made up of matter and energy. We
Absolutely
are made up of matter and energy. But irony is
true,
that we only are able to observe the matters, the materialistic things around us. Because we are able
true,
to touch it, feel it, taste it, observe it. But we never
true.
look within ourselves. We ignore the energies, the wavelength, the frequency that we have.
It's so
but
important.
but at the unconscious level, that is the only reason when your frequency does not match with the other person, your vibe does not match with the other person, you try to
True,
repel. But when it
true.
matches, you try to get attracted towards that person. So I think
Yes,
if we become more conscious about our energy is simply like body language, like how we
body
behave.
language, everything.
Yeah, everything, like how you smile, what's your facial expression, you know how you basically stand, how you walk, everything, how you move, how you use your hands, how you use your shoulder, legs, eyes. I think
And
everything. So
unfortunately, Tosif, there are a lot of people who don't even laugh in photographs. And frankly speaking, like, I want to admit this, that I was one of them just 10
in
years
fact
back.
I was also.
Just 10
Yeah.
years back. And my wife Ishita actually taught me that you should laugh in every single photograph. And I consciously worked upon that, because it was something which was there from last 30 years, where we have to work upon myself. But when
In
I
fact,
actually started
I think
smiling,
it's a very good point that you have raised. It was one of the case with me as well. In my office,
yeah,
a lot of my friends would used to say that Tausi, तू angry young man है. अबे कभी तू smile कर, मतलब you have a very
same,
photogenic face but you don't smile.
same thing, same thing.
I think it
Yeah,
happens with a lot of people.
yeah,
I can relate.
true.
So I think let's go deep into a little bit, because we have just 10 15 minutes left. We would love to talk about the body language. So I would love to
Yes,
cover the five most important aspects of our body language, which are very important, and if you can work on them consciously, it will change the level, the way you present yourself. I mean, it doesn't really
true.
matter whether you are in front of your family, or you are in front of a professional audience, or you're going to speak, you're going to just go and sit in the meeting. But remember, you're always observed. You're always
Yes.
observed.
Remember, remember.
So even if you're going in a casual meeting, you're traveling in the mall, traveling to some place, or maybe you're visiting your friends in the mall, or you're just going to go for a grocery shopping. People are observing you. People are making perception out of you. So even before you work on your verbal communication, it's very, very significant that you work on your non-verbal communication. And I think the first
Absolutely.
thing is, as you mentioned, Piyush, the way you smile. Your smile is very important. You know, I think there would be millions of the people who have gone through so many adverse experiences in their life that over a period of time they forget to smile. And that's
Actually,
what actually, and I'm not
actually.
deprived of this
And
fact.
I'm one of them. I was one of
Yeah,
them.
I think we both, imagine our childhood. In fact, my childhood was also that, very, very oppressing. So many things happened in the personal life
We
that,
are so
even that I became
angry
so
with
serious.
the
Yeah,
situation. We are
it
angry with
became very
everything,
serious.
like starting from our parents to situation to school to
Yeah.
teachers to boss. We are angry with everything. And we
It,
forget that sense of gratitude actually.
Definitely. So, I remember I would have been 6 or 7. I would be very smiling, but I think right from the time when I became little conscious, started understanding relationships and looking at whatever is happening around me, looking at the situation of my parents, siblings, and all, I think I completely forgot to smile. I would just smile with my maybe some of my friends will when I will play cricket, but you know it is just like as you rightly said that just before 10 year you started working on this consciously, and similarly when
Yes,
I came to corporate, a lot of friends said that you look like an angry my young man. Where is the smile? And I think like 5, 6 years back I've started practicing when I put myself into communication. Then I realized that it is
I
very
mean,
very important aspect.
it's so unfortunate,
It's
Tausif,
very
that even we have to practice smile,
Yeah,
which is
it's very unfortunate.
so something basic, something very natural, and then also we have to practice. So this is going to be one exercise for our audience, that
Yeah.
if you are also not smiling in your photographs, if you are also not smiling in your videos or in your communication, start practicing it. It is actually a superpower. If you can smile in your photo, in your video, or when you are giving a presentation, it will boost your confidence level like anything.
Yeah. Imagine the situation that you are going to say somebody, I really like you, and you say, I like you. So I mean, it's all about how
Of course.
you give the right treatment to the words. Imagine you say that I
Yes.
am really angry with you. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I
Yeah,
think it's very important to understand, like when you're saying something, you attach those emotions with those words. You know,
absolutely.
so it's I think most of the people doesn't even care about it. you know Sometimes if they have to say their parents I love you, like
And
it's
these
a
are
very
the
broad,
same
it's a big
people.
baggage.
These are the same people who also complain that people don't understand me or
Yeah.
people don't take me seriously. Are those
Yeah,
like you are not communicating in a way that people can actually understand you.
true.
It's not people's problem that peoples don't understand you. It's your problem that you are unable to make them understand. It's
That's
about
right.
taking that responsibility. Again, the same problem, the same question that we all blame, we all question, we all complain,
Yeah.
but you need to take the responsibility that something is happening. If you're not able to communicate, if people are not able to understand you, that something is wrong with your communication. It's not about people's understanding.
And it is
Just
always like
imagine
95% of the time it
a
is always the
stand-up
case with us.
comedian complaining that people don't
People are not laughing.
understand his jokes.
Yeah. Or they're not laughing. I think there's a bit of connection issue, Piyush, but I think you're back. So I think you were
Yeah,
talking about
sorry.
the comedian, complaining that people don't laugh and don't,
Because
understand their jokes. Who the problem
that
lies then?
now the problem is not about the audience, it's about your jokes, buddy.
Absolutely. And I think
So
it is
same
it
thing.
is the same way. People don't understand you as my mentor communication mentor, in fact our mentor Praveen Vadalkar also says that it's, if your audience is not understanding, it's not
If your
audience's problem.
audience is
it
sleeping, then it's your
it's
problem.
it's your problem, it's not the audience's
It's not
problem.
audience's problem.
And similar is the case not in only professional setup, but in your, if people don't listen to you in your personal life as well, it is highly likely that you have to shift the tangent of your communication.
Yes, yes, that's
Right?
very, very important, very, very powerful as well. That if you are having this feeling that people don't understand me, then it's not people's problem. Let me be very blunt, and we all need to understand, we all need to admit, accept this, that it's our problem. You
Absolutely.
cannot change somebody else's understanding. You can
Just
only change
imagine
your.
how important a role this communication plays in all walks of our life.
Tosif, I mean, I can bet, and we already discussed this a lot of time, that if we all are able to communicate in a better way, this world can actually become a much,
Become
much better
a better
place.
place. Yeah. And I'm a strong believer of this. A lot
Yes,
of problems can be solved just by communicating the things in the right way.
yes, because
And at the same time, a lot of issues
we,
can also happen by communication.
yes, we all assume. Assuming is
Yeah.
something which we love to do.
Yeah.
Finding the
Assumptions,
right, finding the right reasons,
because
finding
that is
the
an easy
logic.
way.
Yes.
That's an easy way. Assumption is always easy. Sitting with yourself silently and thinking is difficult. And that is the
Yes,
reason
and
most of the people chose
asking
forward.
questions. Yes, asking right questions to understand that why something is happening is something very difficult, which we also have discussed, that in communication, developing a communication skill where you can have those uncomfortable conversations is also
Yeah,
very much important.
absolutely. And I think Piyush, we are left with
5 minutes
5 minutes. We
only.
would love
I
if
think a lot
somebody
of
has any
people have
questions.
joined on
Yeah,
Facebook as well. So
I didn't see the.
Rajkumar Pal is there. Mronoti, thanks a lot for joining. Ritu Bharti Khare is
Somehow
watching. Thank you so much, guys, for joining
Ritu
us.
Bharti
And
is from my network. And I think, you know, just to share with the audience that we are doing so many things in the background to absolutely revamp the image of life indeed. And
yes,
we would soon announce before the 50th episode, because we have planned something and we are going to come up with that. And it's always the case that when you do something to improvise certain things, you it's always good to introspect, it's always good to take a pause and understand like how things will unfold in the future, how the things will go. And it is better to plan things for the benefit and for the for the impact that we are going to do, leave in a better way. So
correct.
Piyush, you would like to share something on that ground?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, ultimately, our point is why we are doing this episodes on communication skill is, which we already discussed, that if we can communicate in a better way, 99% problems or the challenges we are facing in this world can be resolved. And we are a very strong advocate of this. And that's why we are trying to inspire people that if you are looking forward to improve your communication skill, we can actually give you that platform. We love to give you this opportunity, because earlier we didn't get this kind of opportunity, that when you are, especially when you are starting,
Yeah,
you do not have such platforms. People always welcome people who are successful, or who has achieved something great. Like,
true.
this kind of platform only invite such people, but we actually genuinely want to create this platform where anybody can come and share their life stories, anybody can come and have this experience, that how it feels when you share your story on public platform. And this particular
Definitely.
exercise, this particular experience can actually change somebody's life. And that's what
Definitely.
our, in fact, our movement, our motto, our purpose is also getting evolved day by day. That
It
how we
is.
started, and on this 45th episode we are discussing that we want to give this platform to each and every person, and we all deserve to
Yep.
have this kind of platform. So genuinely, people,
Definitely.
guys, to our audience, we are so much blessed to have you, and we will keep encouraging you to come and become a part of Life Indeed podcast. Share your story, even though you have never, speak, or if you do not feel that confidence. We had that kind of people who have never
Yeah.
done any kind of public speaking, but we we have seen that transformation, we have seen those beautiful experiences where people were able to see that this actually works, and we want to give you that opportunity.
Definitely, because ultimately, whatever we are doing for the benefit of the people who actually need it. Because ultimately, when we receive the messages that something they have learned from Life Indeed, something that they have got it from that guest, or some of the episode, it really is fulfilling for all of us. Because ultimately, whatever we are
Absolutely.
doing, if we're getting the acknowledgement that it is impacting you, and I think that is what we want to actually hear from you. And we would love
Yes.
to have you as a continuous spectator and a contributor to Life Indeed podcast and this movement. And we hope to have 100
And
episodes soon as well,
we
but
we
in a
we
more
don't
more
want,
informative way.
that you just become a spectator. We actually
Yeah,
want you to become a part of Life Indeed.
part of it.
You can
Yeah,
get into this video conversation, you can get into our community where we will be definitely sharing the joining link and other stuff as well very soon. So you can actually become a part of Life Indeed family, where we want to create that world where we are communicating in a better
thriving
way
together.
and thriving together. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a time to call it a day, Piyush. I would like to
Yep.
say thanks on behalf of Live Indeed podcasting team. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and hope to see you soon next week with another powerful episode.
So
Bye bye.
we have completed at body language. We will take it
Yeah,
further to the
we'll take it further.
next topics in the upcoming
Yeah,
episode. Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye. Take care.
bye.